Right. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're doing well, that you had a good weekend, and that you got some rest and everything else. So this video, this series is I'm just gonna do some very basic functions that will work with 3ds Max. So I'm gonna go through things like adding the modifier stack, adding different animations, um, working with like cameras and lighting a little bit, and also how you can change some of the basic settings with the renderer. So this is going to be divided in a couple of videos. This video in particular is going to deal with the modifiers. Next, we'll go into things with like your materials, how you can add the materials, how you can change different elements about the materials, and then we'll look at the lighting, the cameras, and then finally the render settings. So in my first scene, like I said, this video right now is going to be based on this modifier stack in the series. So I'm just going to use a very simple shape like this. Now again, just a quick review. This is your scene explorer, so you can see everything on the left right here, which is the cylinder. And if I add another shape, I can go to this, it's called the command panel over here. I'm just going to go ahead and add a box and draw it like this. And you can add your primitive shapes, but if you want to add other elements or change different things about your shape right here, you can also do that at this point here. So if I have these two scenes in here, again, if I wanted to, maybe I made this object, I can scale it uniformly like this. So if I wanted to make this like a little bit bigger or make this, I could use the scale tool. I could also use the rotate tool if I wanted and change it along this axis, and I can use the move tool to move the objects around like this. So once I have my shape, a few things that help when we're doing the modeling portion is if you go into, like you can see this is your perspective. Again, if I click down here, this is where I can see all of the different stuff that my scene can do. So again, if I move this object, you can see that it's kind of affected right here too. So I see this live for each set. So if you're trying to like line things up, sometimes this can be really helpful to be able to see this at once. But for our purposes now, we're just going to be in this viewport or this perspective view right here. Now, another thing that I would want to do is I'm going to go into where it says default shading, which are your just standard colors when you create shapes. The one that's easiest to work with is what's called edged faces. And so now you can see, like when I click on this object right here, that I can see the different edges for each section. Now for the cube or this box, it has just one edge face for each, but on the cylinder, you can see a lot more. To give you another idea, if I click over here on this modifier, and again, if you hover over it, you can see it'll tell you what it does, modify. And then you can change its positions here. So maybe I want to make this like a little bit smaller. Maybe I want to change its height a little bit. I can do that. And I can also change how many segments. So this does this all live, which is really cool. If I want to add another segment to this, I can. Or if I want to take this away, I can also do that. I can add the cap. You can see like up here how many cap segments. I'm just going to, for our purposes now, I'm going to leave it like this. And then how many sides it has now. If I make more sides, it's going to be smoother. If I make less, you can see here that it becomes a little bit like more blocky. So it's kind of however you want. And then the same thing, I can do this for my box as well. All right, so the modifier is what you pick from this list right here. So if I'm just gonna, the one that you're gonna use the most often is gonna be called Edit Poly. And what will happen is you're gonna see this stack right here. And from this section, I can also see like what element of the shape that I want. So this shape has the edit poly modifier on it. And if I wanted to go back to the original box, I could just click this here. And you could see the effects of the modifier. I haven't done anything to it yet, but this is how you would see those effects. So the one that's easiest to see at first is the polygon. So if you click the polygon and then you select it, you get all of these options that go with it. So an easy thing to see is maybe I just want to make this move out. I can just select that side of the polygon to change it. If I wanted to do the same thing here, maybe I want to bring this in some. So I can do it like this, or I can also take it and move it up like this if I wanted to. So this allows you to select a face and make changes to it. I can also go here, which is your vertices, and I'll zoom in some. So if you click right here, maybe you want to just change this edge like this. So I can go in and change it. So if I wanted to have like this sort of asymmetrical look, I could do that. And then you can, again, change them however you want. You also have this edge right here. So again, I can move this around. You can also do different things like you can see like I can scale it. So this kind of like tapers it like this. I can rotate it. Like I can make all of these changes that I want to this shape, and it affects it in real time. Now, where this gets really interesting is if I wanted to, I can pick one of these edges here, and I'm just going to select cube just because it's not going to have a function. And then what I can do is you have all of these options, and each one of these selections has different elements that you can pick. So I'm going to stick with the polygon for right now, and one that's pretty easy to see is what's called an inset. So if you click it and then you drag, you can see what it's doing is it's adding additional polygons to this face. So if I wanted to go in and change something about this one in particular, then I can now go in and let's say I wanted to make this like hang over like this, I could do that. So I can change each one of these right here to make whatever shape I want. So again, kind of your goal with all of this is if you have a reference image that you want to use, maybe there's like a shape, again, in this case, maybe it's like a steel beam or something that I want to deform, then you can do that. I'll show you a couple of other ones too. I'll take bevel, for instance. You can see like this adds an additional shape to it, and then I can change how this looks right here. All right, so this could be like, for instance, this could be like a boulder or something like that. Another option that you have, and sometimes you'll see this, is if you know exactly how much you want something to, if you want to be more exact, this is what's called the caddy. So you'll see this sort of go right here. It'll give you some options. I'm just going to keep it as a default. And then what you can do is you can drag this up like this. So again, sometimes you'll have the exact measurement that you want and you could enter it. And then if you don't like it, you can click this X, or if you do like it, you just click this check mark, and then you can see right here what it does. Some other ones that you may see or that you might use a lot, because again, depending on what area of the shape you're modifying, you may want to change it, is right here you have like the edge. I'll just show you. Like in this case here, you see I have this edge and I have this chamfer tool. And so now what happens is it's going to basically kind of smooth out this edge so that it's less sharp, so to speak. So you see how this is adding, it's basically adding another polygon face, and it's making it so that it's you can round this out a little bit more, which again reflects real life. You have a few other ones too. I'm going to click this one to kind of get rid of it. You might have some which is like bridge, so maybe I want to add a, if I select these two for instance, maybe I want to add a shape to this. If I hold, I can click bridge, and then you can basically draw where you want this to go. So you can add these different edges to this, and then you can manipulate those edges to be however you want. So there we go, like this. And it takes a little bit of practice. Like I would recommend going into shapes, and I'll just show you this one really quick. So I'm going to pick this object here. I'm going to take this, and then once I've done that, I'm going to click yes here just to leave the change. And then I can go here and I can still add the edit poly mesh. Now, kind of a cool feature though, and you'll see I kind of lost my scene. So if I lose track of something, I can just click the zoom extents to all and I can see it. Let's say that I've made this shape and I'm like, I don't really like this very much. You can just get rid of it by clicking this eye right here. Or maybe I don't want to make any of these changes. I'm like, I don't like this shape at all. I'd rather like start over and add stuff. I can now just click this delete button and all those changes are gone. So that can be really helpful if you are making like a lot of changes to an object, but you decide maybe you're starting out with kind of a sketch or something and you want to just see what you can make, and then you have a better idea and you want to make the final one, you can do that. Some other cool modifiers, some basic ones, you're going to see like this bend modifier. And then what you can do is if you change the angle, you can actually like make this bend in whatever direction you want. So let's say I want it to look like this, and then I can change its direction like this. So I have all of those options here. Again, I can add as many modifiers as I want as well. So once I've added this, maybe I'm going to go back and I'll do my edit poly. And then maybe this top part, like these faces right here. So I'll click this again. Maybe I'll pick this polygon. Maybe I want these to have like it extrude on them. So I've selected them and I'm going to click extrude, and I can either move them in or I could move them out like this. So there's a lot of like cool things that you can do. I can also reorder these. So maybe I want the bend to occur after the edit poly changes, which are here. And then you can also see how this looks at this point, and then you can make changes like that. So I know that this is very like inexact at this point, but that is the process of modeling. When you're building a shape, you're trying to make it look and appear like an object in the real world. So if you have, again, a couch or an object that's not one of these, so I could easily just make a teapot and apply these modifiers to it and I can change them. But maybe you're trying to make, again, a room setup and you have different objects in the room like desks and everything else. And so the way to do that is to just add your primitive shapes first. And then once you have your primitive shapes, to change elements about them so that they look a little bit more like the object you're trying to model after. So I think it's a lot of fun just to go into the program and just add different objects. I'll just do some extended primitives. For instance, this one right here is a pretty popular shape because you can see like what's happening is I can change it to look more like rounded. So I could use that for different objects that I wanted to create. And then I can still go in and edit these elements with like edit poly if I want as well. So you can see again, I can go and change my segments and I can work with it like that. So it does take some practice, but I think it is fun just to go in, add as many modifiers as you can, change them, see kind of what happens with each one. There's going to be some that you use a lot. Again, edit poly is kind of the biggest one. It's the most useful one, I would say, at least when you're starting. But there's a lot of different ones that you could go in and select and just kind of see how they function. So that's how you add the modifiers. That's the kind of purpose of modeling. It's a little bit different in this program because a lot of programs you can automatically select this, but in this one you have to use the edit poly modifier, but it's also non-destructive. So if I don't like the changes I made, I can just undo the modifier and I still have my base shape that I can go in and edit things for. All right, so I hope that this was helpful to get started with modifiers. It's all going to be right here. And then once you've added the modifier, again, you're going to see all of these options under the modify tab. So if, again, I'll just do edit poly again. And this is where you can see, like I can change each of them right here. There's a few options that you have. Again, if I pick this right here, and it's not letting me select it, but if I pick one of these objects at this point, then I can go in and I can change. That's because I selected the wrong object. I could go in and change like each one. And then, like I said, I could scale it up. I could change it to look like this. So there's a lot of cool things you could do. All right, so thanks for watching and I'll see you at the next video.